All right, looks like we're live. For those of you that are here, you know I am Brian. This hangout is going to be talking about my upcoming photocracy team fitness group, Fat Loss Without the Gym. I'm going to wait a few minutes before we get started. I know looks like it's about 7 now. Basically, what we're going to do is cover, kind of my background, my kind of personal history with fitness. Then we're going to kind of go into the coaching group some. We'll talk about the nutrition aspects, the workouts, the logistics of it, and then we'll do a few minutes of Q&A for those of you that are here. And I know a few of you guys sent in questions beforehand, so I've got those that I'll make sure I cover before we're done as well. Like I said, I'll wait a couple minutes before we get started. For those of you that are in Charlotte, thank you for joining me. I know the Hornets are kicking off their opener tonight, and they're the Hornets again and not the Bobcats, and that's super exciting. And I'm sorry for taking you away from that if you're a fan. I've got it DVR, and I had to turn the TV off. Otherwise, I know I'd be trying to watch it while I was doing this. But so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to watch it after. Also, this is going to be recorded. I'm going to post the YouTube link after this for those of you that can't make it. So no big deal if you're not here. I know I didn't really tell people until this morning, so that's my bad. I kind of threw this together last night. So I guess we'll wait another minute. Looks like we've had a couple people join, and if my eyes are frantically going all over the screen, it's because I've got my email up and a couple of my social media accounts, and I've got my phone sitting here just so people can notify me, if they can't get in or if they're having technical issues or if they can't hear me. So that's why my eyes are racing all over both of my monitors here just so I can be checking out if someone sends me a message. So looks like we're at 7:01, so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, this is for the photocracy group, Fat Loss Without the Gym. It starts next Monday. We're going to be running for 16 weeks, so I think that puts us about the end of February. Some open spots, so this is for you guys that are already in the group. So thank you guys for joining. Looking forward to working with you, and also got some other folks that are interested in the group, and maybe after this Q&A and this little intro, we'll get them to join us. So to start, I guess my personal history. I work in IT, my day job, which is surprisingly enough. Don't get it off the call. I still know what I'm doing when it comes to fat loss and fitness. I'm here in Concord, North Carolina. I work for a race team. I don't really have any, I didn't overcome obesity or any sort of, overweight problems or anything like that when I was growing up. I've always just been in fact, the opposite, like the little skinny guy, until I went to college and started, lifting weights. A couple of my best friends were playing with the football team at Appalachian State where I went. So those guys kind of got me into working out, and I fell in love with it. I've been doing it ever since. Within the past couple of years, I really started, reading more about it, learning more, looking at research stuff. And it just, I've started to realize that the things you see in on TV and men's health magazines and women's health and stuff like that were kind of silly, and didn't make a lot of sense. And that's probably why we have an obesity problem and people, are struggling with their fat loss. So, once I kind of started, following the right people online on social media and reading blogs and stuff like that, and saw other people kind of like myself where they were just, they were kind of mimicking or replicating what some of these, more well-known people were doing. And they were having success with it. I thought I would, start a blog. So that's kind of how I got into all this. It was actually, and I've got a book right here. It was actually January of last year. I was in a men's group with the church I was attending at the time, and we were reading a book called Next Generation Leader by Andy Stanley, which is right here. I went and grabbed it before I started, and kind of what spurred all this on is, and I'm not going to read to you. I'm just this. I found this page earlier where he talks about visions always seem to be unrealistic when they're first hatched. And it says to kind of take a few minutes. Organize the vision of your dream job around environment responsibilities. Then it kind of lists some bullet points, and he asks you to go, write out and actually answer these questions. And I did that. What kind of people would you enjoy working with? Would you be part of a team on your own? Would you travel? Would the environment be structured? Would you work management, sales, marketing, work with people, numbers, or whatnot? So I filled all this out, and it kind of made me realize that, I love my job in IT, and I love what I do. I'm good at it. I have fun. I love the people that I work with. But, this is my passion. This is something I could see myself doing every day and loving it. So I started a blog, about 6 months after this. So that'd have been last summer, and just kind of started writing out my thoughts, and had a decent following outside of my family and friends. Started doing online coaching earlier this year, and I've had some pretty good success with the folks that I've worked with so far. So stumbled upon, or I've actually been a member of Photocracy for over a year, but then I saw they had the team fitness things that they were doing now, so I got set up, and here we are. So looking forward to working with you guys. So first, I want to talk about the nutrition aspects of the group. And one thing too I want to mention as well. I did go, and when I started my blog, one of the folks that I followed really closely was the folks at Metabolic Effect. They're actually in Winston-Salem, about an hour north of here, and it hit home with me the way they do their training, the way they do their nutrition and fat loss and all this stuff. And that was someone that I really wanted to mimic. His co-founder is Jade Teta or Teta, I'm not sure how you actually pronounce it, and his brother Keone. So, and they offer some certifications. So I did a personal trainer certification through them, and then they have 3 levels of fat loss certifications, and I've done the first. I've signed up for the second and third, but just with like I said, the day job and the million other things going around, I haven't done the second and third yet, but I do plan on doing those in the near future, or at least the second one, and maybe the third one next year. So I just did that just, to have, the cool little letters after my name, just because that's important to some people. To some it's not, but it's been a great experience thus far, and that allows me to use some of their clinical tools with you guys to help ensure that, together we're going to have success. So that's, obviously important. Okay, so the nutrition aspects of this, you got a questionnaire when you join the group. I think most of you have filled it out so far, so thank you for doing that. And if you haven't, try and do that this week if you can. What that's just going to do is kind of tell me, your body type, obviously how much you weigh, your height, body fat percentage and all that. And what Metabolic Effect uses are what they call burner types. And, the burner being, do you burn fat more or do you burn sugar more? And they have, the 3 burner types: sugar, mixed, and fat burner, muscle burner. And that's kind of how they kind of lump all their customers or their clients into these groups to start out with. And you may have heard, the body types, like, ectomorph, mesomorph, endomorph, and it's the same principle, just different wording. And these are just, one type is kind of the skinny guy, like the way I said I grew up, and when I went into college, just a little frail, bony looking kid. And then you've got, the one guy that's, kind of looks like the linebacker, the guys that can eat whatever they want. They're just always big and muscular, and the body, everyone kind of hates them because, they can do whatever they want, and they just always look, like really in really good shape. And this is, men or women. And then you have the other body type, which is, more your naturally obese type people. So they kind of, lump you into one of these 3 categories, based off of, some feedback and questionnaires you give them. And that's kind of just a starting point. It's going to determine, how many carbohydrates you get, off the bat, things like that. And basically the way the program is going to work is, everyone's going to get, for the most part, the same, kind of nutrition guideline, grocery list kind of template. And I'm going to have all you guys follow that for the first couple of weeks. And you're going to be tracking your hunger, your energy, and your cravings. And Metabolic Effect calls this HEC, HEC, hunger, energy, and cravings. And you're going to do this for a couple of weeks before we change anything. And then after that, then we're just going to start, using these biofeedback tools at your HEC, and then we're going to start tweaking, and basically just, each of you are going to become your own diet detective. Some foods that maybe work well for me might not work well for you, and if they work well for you, they might not with someone else in the group. But that's just something we're all going to kind of talk about and exchange all that information as we go, so we can all benefit from the most. I'm not going to give you guys meal plans. Meal plans don't really work. I can, and if you want to do that, I will, but I don't recommend it. That kind of goes against the whole, becoming your own diet detective. If I tell you to eat, egg white omelets with spinach and salads and, grilled chicken and broccoli, then, obviously you're going to lose weight, but that's not something that you can sustain forever. So then once you stop eating like that, you're more than likely going to put on the weight or put back on the weight that you lost. So I don't want to do that. So, that's kind of the reason why, we're just going to kind of tweak the foods we're eating as we go. And that way, we're only going to have, several months together that we're doing this group. And that way, when we're done, you can, this is something that you can maintain, long after, you and I are working in this group. So that's the goal, is that, hopefully actually then this is going to be the last, I'll be the last trainer and fat loss coach you ever need, because I want to educate you guys during this time. So that afterwards, like I said, you can just kind of go out and do this on your own. You'll be able to identify the foods that you're eating, and you'll be able to kind of figure out how to maintain this long term. So that's kind of the rundown of the nutrition stuff. And I made some notes. I'm going to glance back through here to make sure I didn't forget anything. Obviously we're going to focus on higher quality foods. No foods are going to be off limits. Certainly I'm going to suggest you eat, more, leaner proteins, lots of vegetables, lower sweet fruits, kind of get off the, highly processed foods, the boxed packaged stuff like that doesn't really have any nutritional value. But certainly you can still incorporate those into your diet. I don't want to say anything's off limits completely. Otherwise, that's just going to make you crave it that much more. But those will come in spurts. We'll have those when the time is right. As far as the metabolic effect folks have a concept they developed called rest-based training, and you'll see me abbreviated as RBT. And basically these are just short duration, high intensity workouts. And kind of their mantra is push until you can't and rest until you can. And that's, it means the way that it sounds. You do your workout, you can just go as hard as you can until you can't, and then you take a break for a minute, whether that's 5 seconds, 30 seconds, a minute, get your breath and get ready, and then you go until you can. And then you just pick right back up where you left off. Like I said, the workouts are only going to be 20 minutes in duration. So you're not going to want to spend a lot of time resting, but obviously the goal actually is to rest, which is kind of counterintuitive, you would almost think. But if you're not resting, that means you're not pushing hard enough. So, ultimately, and once you start these workouts, you're going to see that you'll be resting pretty frequently because they're pretty tough. You're going to be using light dumbbells. For most of you, 5 pounds are great to start with, and you'll see that those 5 pounds are going to get really heavy really quickly. You'll be doing full body movements. They call them hybrids. And we're going to start pretty basic, for the first couple of workouts. And basically what you'll be doing is just a series of, hybrids. And this might look like a squat, and you'll stand up and do an overhead press, or you'll do a lunge. And while you're in the lunge position, you'll do a curl, or you'll do a dumbbell fly and then into a row. And for those of you that join and do the group, I'll send video demos of these, with modifications as we go. And this will all make a lot more sense when you actually see me doing it. One thing that you will need is a timer app, or just a timer. I use an interval timer app on my iPhone. There's tons of free ones out there. I'm not even sure what mine's called. I think it's just interval timer. Some of the workouts we'll do for reps and some we'll do for time. So if we're going for reps, then you can just set it for 20 minutes and then it'll ding when the 20 minutes is up. But if we're doing the workouts for reps, then I'll show you how to set it up for, maybe every 4 minutes you'll change an exercise, or every 5 minutes. And again, we'll go through all that way more in depth when we actually get to the workouts. But that's just kind of a quick overview. The goal of the workouts are kind of one of the staples of these workouts. The folks at Metabolic Effect call them the B's and the H's. And this is breathless, burning, heat, and heavy. And most of these are, pretty self-explanatory. Breathless, we obviously want to get our heart rate up, become breathless, and that's, push until you can't, rest until you can. Burning, obviously the goal here is to burn fat. Heavy, like I said, the 5 pound dumbbells aren't going to seem heavy at first, and, they might not be for some of you guys. And if you are, somewhat advanced, you could start with, 8 pounds or 10 pounds, depending on what you have. I know most of the folks that have signed up said they have, I think I saw up to 8 to 12 so far in the surveys that have been done. But those are going to get heavy, I'm telling you, really fast. And then heat, obviously, you're going to want to, do this quickly, increase your core body temperature. And when I say quickly, I don't mean rush through it. Still practice good form and be safe and take rest when you need to. But again, we'll cover all that more in depth later. And talking about the heat thing, it's kind of funny. I don't work out at a commercial gym anymore. But when I used to, I always used to get a kick out of the folks that, they'd have like the gym on a hot day would have those big industrial fans sitting out. And then someone would go get on an elliptical that was near the fan, and they would spin the fan around so that it was blowing them like they were in a wind tunnel. And they would just get on the elliptical for 20 minutes, and they were, had this fan on them so they wouldn't be sweating. And it's just they're kind of defeating the purpose. You know, the goal is to, you know, increase your core body temperature, get breathless, and do all this stuff. And but again, that's neither here nor there. A term you might hear me say often as well is EPOC, and that's excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, so EPOC, and that's actually the scientific term for metabolic effect. Basically what this is, or what it means, is it's a compensatory reaction that happens in your body, excuse me, that's in response to these, you know, this intense exercise that we're going to be doing. And then it's going to release these physiological processes in your body that are going to allow you to burn, you know, more calories and more fat long after the exercise is over. You know, a lot of people, you know, you have these little like workout trackers and things like that, that when you go for a run, it says, you know, you burned 150 calories. Well, I don't want you to be concerned with how many calories you burn during a workout. That's, I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's not that important. We don't care how many calories we burn in those 20 minutes. What we do care about is all the additional calories that we're going to burn after our workout, this EPOC effect. And studies show that when you do these types of workouts, you can have accelerated calorie and fat burning for 24 to up to 48 hours after this 20-minute workout. So that's pretty wild. So that's, you know, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're not just, you know, I'm not having you guys go out and, you know, go for long runs. If you follow me on Facebook or any social media, sometimes I kind of poke fun at running or steady state cardio. And I think that it's great. And if you like it, absolutely keep doing it. I personally hate it, so I don't. But it definitely has its place. You know, part of the reason why I don't like it is, you know, it doesn't give you this effect. You know, you get on the elliptical for 20 minutes or you go jog for a mile. When the workout's over, you know, the calorie burning is over. So if you burned 100 or 150 calories and that's all that you burned, and then you're done. With these types of, you know, short duration, high intensity, using weights, workouts, kind of circuit training, you're going to get this EPOC effect or metabolic effect. We're going to be doing, and I mentioned, you know, I'll provide video demos for the workouts. You're going to get new ones every third week. What I want you to do is, so, you know, this upcoming Monday, you'll get one, and I want you to do it 6 times over the first 2 weeks. So you're going to be doing these 3 times a week and never consecutive days. So, you know, for most folks, this works out to be, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Certainly you can do Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, or however you want to work it out, but they're all going to be full body workouts to start with. So I don't want you to do them, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or I don't want you to do them 5 days a week either. You know, we want to rest as well. So you're going to do 3 the first week, 3 the same workout, 3 times the second week. And what I want you to do is kind of see how far you get. You know, if we're doing them for reps, you know, maybe the first workout you only get so many reps in of your squat presses, and then by that 6th one, I want you to see how much you've improved on, you know, in those 2 weeks, and then I'll give you a new exercise, and we'll repeat that process throughout the course of the time. So that kind of covers the workouts. Some of the logistics stuff that I want to cover real quick. The original questionnaire you filled out when you joined the group through Photocracy had you doing a lot of like body measurements. I'm not going to ask you to do that many every time. I'm going to send you a link to where you can go on. Again, it's a metabolic effect link on their website, and it's a kind of an online shape calculator. And you take a few measurements. It's just not as detailed as what they have you doing here, so I'm not going to ask you to do that as often. But so I'm going to have you just doing that every, you know, weekly. And then we'll kind of work out and see how it works best, whether, you know, you just email me your results or we share out a Google Docs. And if you want to go update it on your own and I can just come in and monitor it, we'll just kind of do that on a week by week basis and see how you got, you know, which one of those you guys like better doing. Because again, this is my first group. So some of that, you know, kind of logistic stuff, I don't know what's going to work out the best. So I just, you know, whatever works for you guys. Regarding the measurements, we're going to do them every week, every Friday. But after I have your original ones now, we're going to wait 2 weeks until we do them again. The reason being, you know, if your diet right now consists of, you know, tons of starchy foods, you know, high salt foods, you know, if you're a big chips and salsa eater and, you know, you go to Mexican and eat, you know, have a margarita and chips and salsa, and you eat potatoes and all these high starch, high salt foods. And then you start this program and you're eating more leaner proteins and, you know, vegetables, lower sweet fruits and things like that. You could potentially lose a lot of weight in the first couple of weeks. I mean, I've seen anywhere from, you know, 2 to 10 pounds, and, you know, that can be pretty exciting to lose 10 pounds in, you know, 10 days. But it's important to know that you're not losing fat. That's mostly going to be water weight because of the starch and the and the sugar, or excuse me, the salt. So that's why we're going to wait 2 weeks before we do that first measurement, just so we don't kind of have any of that, water weight stuff going on. And then after that, we're going to start measuring weekly. And I mentioned Friday, we're going to do our measurements under the same conditions every time. It's always going to be on a Friday morning. It's always going to be first thing when you wake up, before you, go to the bathroom, take a shower, drink water or something like that. Sorry, I'm still trying to keep an eye on stuff in case people are messaging me. And also I have the chat window up for those of you that are here. So just send a message if you have any questions as we go, and I'll probably wait to the end to answer them. Yeah, so we're going to do the measurements every Friday. And the reason we say Friday, a lot of times people, and I don't want you to do any kind of cheat or refeed meals these first week or so, but as we get into it, a lot of folks, you can be really compliant in your diet, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then maybe Friday halfway through the day, and then Friday night you go out for dinner and drinks. Saturday night, you have your big cheat meal. You go eat your Mexican, your chips and salsa and margaritas, and then Monday morning when you weigh in, you could still be carrying a lot of that, kind of bloat, that water weight. So that's why we just kind of do it on a Friday morning, because you've probably more than likely been more compliant on your diet, during the week. Some of that, the water weight from those meals can last like 24 to 48 hours. So if you go do your big meal on a Saturday night and you wake up first thing Monday morning, 6 a.m. and weigh yourself, then you might still be, a pound or two heavier just from that meal Saturday night. So that's what we're gonna do Friday mornings. And again, I'll send you guys a link on where you can go online and plug that information in. I want you to do before and after pictures as well. If you don't feel comfortable sharing them with me, that's fine. At least take them before we start, just so we can have kind of a reference. And I'd like for you to take them every month, and I'll remind you of this. And when it's time to do these, and again, the measurements are going to be weekly, but the actual pictures themselves every month if you can. And then hopefully when we're done with this, you'll be, really excited, and you'll want to show off your new body, and you'll send me your before and your after. Then I can obviously use them, use you as a testimonial on my blog on Photocracy, to show how awesome you were and fun things like that. And if you don't mind sharing your pictures, maybe share them in our group. There's not going to be many of us. I don't want to get more than 10 to 15 people in there this first time, because I want it to kind of have that intimate feel. I want all you guys to get personal attention. I don't want to just try and get 30 people in there and me not be able to handle it, because as I said earlier, I do have a full-time job. So I want you guys to get the most out of this possible. So if you feel comfortable, maybe a month in, you want to share your picture. You're seeing the inches drop off your waist, and you're excited about it. Post a picture in the group and share it to us. Maybe that'll motivate someone else to do that, or maybe try a little bit harder, or just whatever that may be. And we're going to go into all this in way more detail, again, for the folks that join. For those of you that are here, just kind of checking it out, hopefully, this sounds exciting to you. I'm excited. I do these workouts myself. I do a lot of strength training as well, but these workouts are harder than when I go try to deadlift heavy or squat heavy. So they're definitely, for real. Now I think that's kind of my quick overview. So I want to get to a couple of questions. I jotted a few down from a few of you that asked, and a couple have popped up here. Someone asked about tracking macros. And for those of you that don't know, macros, that's short for macronutrients. These are proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. These are, where our calories come from. Proteins and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. Fat has 9. Alcohol is technically a 4th macro. It has 7 calories per gram. I'm not going to have you guys track these. Tracking is important. It's kind of cool to actually do it for a while and learn and actually see how much you're eating, because chances are if you did it, you'd realize that you're eating way more than you think you are. But we're not going to track initially, just because I don't want you to feel like that you have to do that to lose fat. I mentioned before, we're going to be focused on higher quality foods, vegetables and things like that. So I want you to lose fat, kind of, I don't want to say naturally, but, I don't want you to think that you have to do all these calculations and plug all your meals into an app, just to lose fat. Where we may do that, and if some of you want to know, maybe we'll have a macro week or something like that, where I teach you guys how to do that. Because like I said, it is pretty neat, and it's something I think everyone should, know how to do, or at least be aware of. But more than likely, I won't have any of you guys do that unless, if you're struggling and you're not seeing any fat loss, and we've ruled out, diet or, your compliance, if I can't see what you're eating. So you can just, you can tell me what I want to hear. But if you're not actually doing that, then we'll look at tracking the macros and, for you individually for a couple weeks and see if we can kind of jumpstart your fat loss. Okay. So the video demos, that I'm going to do for the workouts, I'm not going to go through the full 20-minute workouts when I do them. More than likely what I'll do is just, I'll walk you through what it's going to be, and I'll show you a few reps of each exercise, how to transition from the, one hybrid to the next, how to set up your timer and things like that. So those videos probably won't be more than a couple minutes long. But if you guys need more than that, let me know. And I'm also going to factor in some modifications, for some of you guys. If you've got, shoulder pain or knee pain, then I'll kind of show you some alternatives that you can do there. Someone else also, okay, how strict will the nutrition plan be? And how, if it's going to be lenient. Again, I'm not going to, we're going to focus on higher quality foods. I'm not going to say, you can't eat, packaged foods at all. I'm not going to say you can never have an Oreo again or a Dorito. But obviously, you're going to want to limit those foods, focus on the higher quality foods. But, still have some of these things to kind of help keep your sanity. And some of these foods that, we'll talk about what are called buffer foods and trigger foods. And again, for the folks that are actually in the group, we'll go into that in way more detail. So to answer your question, how strict is it going to be? I want to say not very, but, it's going to ultimately be up to you. Obviously you probably don't want to eat grilled chicken and sweet potatoes and broccoli every meal. So I'll give you some ideas on kind of how to expand that out. And hopefully that answers your question. And how much daily time commitment for exercise is this going to be? Again, the workouts are going to be 20 minutes. I'm going to highly suggest that you do a warm up and a, cool down after, preferably, up to 5 minutes of both. So these could really run you anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, assuming you're doing these. Obviously we want to prevent injuries. I don't want you to just, wake up, roll out of bed and start doing, squat presses. I want you to warm up, and I'm going to show you videos of what those look like as well. But as far as the daily time commitment, 30 minutes, you're not going to be driving to the gym. Just set up a little corner in your house where you're not going to bump into a table or, your furniture or something, or knock something over. And then just, if you have a little yoga mat or something, that'd be great. Or just on carpet's going to be fine too. And just grab your dumbbells and go. 30 minutes max, and that's going to be 3 days a week. The other days, I'm going to suggest that you, do some leisure walking and things like that. And we'll cover all that as well. But as far as the actual exercises, it's going to be 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, up to 3 times a week, or 3 times a week. Someone also asked if the diet will accommodate vegans. Yes, yes and no. I'm going to probably slip up a lot and recommend that you eat, meat and dairy and things like that. So if you're, if you're a vegetarian, that would work. If you're a vegan, obviously not so much. So if you are a vegan, keeping your protein up is going to be, one of the most important things for fat loss. One, you're going to preserve muscle. And if you're new to actually working out with dumbbells, you're going to build a little muscle mass. It's going to be kind of exciting for you. So we want to keep our protein numbers high, and that can be tough, for a vegan. So I'm going to strongly recommend that you get some, plant-based protein powders, hemp, rice, the soy protein powders, with hemp or rice being the preferable of the two. But, obviously soy if you have to. I don't want you getting all your protein from, quinoa and beans and these starches, because they're grains, because these are predominantly starches. A can of beans, people think these are good sources of protein, and while they are, you're only going to get about 8 grams of protein to, 25 grams of carbohydrates. So in order to get an optimal amount of protein from the beans, you're going to have to eat like 3 servings. And then you're looking at 75 grams of carbohydrates just to get a piece of protein. And that's just not obviously very optimal for fat loss. So for the vegans, I would almost say it's a requirement to have, one of these, plant-based protein powders for you. I'm checking to see if there were any other questions. Hey, and it's 7:29. I'm wrapping up right on time. I hope this doesn't cut off at 30 minutes since I set it for 30. So I think that's going to about cover it. If you have any questions, Brian@factandfitness.com, feel free to email me. If you're on Photocracy, send me a message. My username on there is Fact and Fitness. My Twitter handle is Fact and Fitness. My Facebook page is facebook.com/factandfitness. So it's pretty easy to find me. Ask any questions you want. Again, the group is going to start this coming Monday, November 3rd. We're going to run for 16 weeks. It's $55 a month. So it's, I think a really good bargain. Whenever I first started doing the one-on-one coaching earlier in 2014, I actually did one-on-one coaching for cheaper than that, which is kind of embarrassing now. But you got to start somewhere. I've obviously since raised my prices a little bit now that I've got more experience. I feel like I can provide more value than I could 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and I hope 6 months from now and 9 months from now I'll be able to provide even more value. So that's kind of the gist of the program. Again, if you couldn't make it, don't worry about it. This is recorded. So when this is done, I'm going to hit stop broadcast. It's going to kick you out, and then I'll get a YouTube link that I'm going to share out for you guys that missed it. So hopefully you guys stuck around and enjoyed this and you're excited about the group. I'm excited about the group. This is my first time doing group coaching, so I can't wait to log on every day and see how you guys are doing and kind of spark up some conversations between everyone in the group. So I'm really excited about that. And I think that's going to wrap it up. So again, just any social media outlet, Photocracy, email, reach out to me if you have questions. More than happy to answer them. And for those of you in the group, hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys Monday morning. And I'll actually send your information before Monday morning, but get ready to get started Monday. Thanks.